Something massive might be happening right now, and if it's true, it could completely change how the world views the Iraqi dinar. Reports are spreading that one of America's biggest banks, Chase Bank, may have quietly started accepting or processing Iraqi dinar notes. If that's accurate, it would mark one of the most important turning points in Iraq's economic recovery, and could signal a major shift in global confidence toward the dinar itself. Welcome back to Iraqi Dinar News today, where we break down the most important updates surrounding Iraq's currency, its economy, and its long journey toward full international recognition. Today's topic has lit up financial circles, investment forums, and even mainstream media, because the implications are huge. For years, the Iraqi dinar has been treated as a speculative currency, something collectors talk about, but big banks rarely acknowledge. But now, with reports pointing to possible activity at Chase Bank involving the dinar, everything could be changing. The Chase Bank report, what's being said, let's start with the heart of the story. Multiple discussions online, including from sources that have been credible in the past, are suggesting that Chase Bank, one of the largest and most respected institutions in the U.S., might have begun accepting or processing certain denominations of the Iraqi dinar. Now, to be clear, this has not yet been officially confirmed by Chase or the Central Bank of Iraq, but even the possibility of such an event has sent shockwaves through the dinar community. Why? Because this would represent something far greater than a simple banking policy update. It would symbolize institutional validation of Iraq's currency after decades of doubt. If this report is verified, it would show that Iraq's long economic rebuilding process is finally being recognized by the global financial system. That's something investors and observers have been waiting for years to see. Why this matters so much, the symbolic weight of this moment can't be overstated. For more than 2 decades, the dinar has been viewed, unfairly, many would argue, as an untradeable, speculative note with no real presence on the world stage. But Chase Bank isn't just any institution. It's one of the largest financial entities in the United States, a bank that deals directly with central banks, multinational corporations, and government agencies. If Chase is engaging with the dinar in any form, that's a powerful signal that the currency may finally be stepping out of the shadows. It would mean Iraq's long, painful process of reconstruction, policy reform, infrastructure rebuilding, and economic stabilization is starting to bear fruit. It would also tell the world that Iraq is no longer the fragile post-war economy many once dismissed. The deeper meaning of the dinar, to truly understand why this news resonates so strongly, we have to look at what the dinar represents to Iraqis themselves. The 25,000 Iraqi dinar note, in particular, carries deep emotional meaning. It was introduced after 2003, during one of the hardest chapters in Iraq's modern history. Back then, Iraq was struggling to rebuild from conflict and isolation. The dinar became more than currency, it became a symbol of national rebirth. For many Iraqis, holding a dinar note wasn't just about money. It was a reminder that the country could recover, that stability and sovereignty were possible again. But outside Iraq, that same note became the center of debate, skepticism, and even ridicule. Critics called it speculative. Analysts dismissed it as a collector's item. And that skepticism, particularly from Western financial institutions, made it even harder for Iraq to rebuild global confidence. That's what makes these Chase Bank reports so significant. If confirmed, they would represent not only a financial shift, but also a symbolic validation of Iraq's progress, a sign that the nation's efforts are finally being acknowledged. From skepticism to serious attention for years, mainstream financial institutions largely ignored the dinar. It wasn't part of international Forex markets, and banks didn't treat it as a tradable currency. But over the past 2 years, Iraq's central bank, known as the CBI, has been taking serious steps to change that. It's implemented digital reforms, tightened regulations on foreign transactions, and introduced measures aimed at stabilizing the exchange rate. According to longtime analysts like Frank 26, a name familiar to those following Iraq's monetary evolution, the central bank's focus has now shifted from talk to action. That's a major distinction. Iraq isn't just making promises anymore, it's executing real structural reforms. The new 500 dinar note, small change, big signal. One example is the introduction of a new 500 IQD note. At first glance, that might not sound like a big deal. It's a small denomination after all. But in the world of currency policy, it's a very strategic move. When nations prepare for larger monetary changes, like redenominations, revaluations, or adjustments to their exchange systems, they often start by introducing smaller notes. Why? Because smaller denominations help encourage everyday transactions in the local currency. They make it easier for citizens to use the dinar in daily life, from grocery shopping to fuel purchases, instead of relying on US dollars or other foreign currencies. It's a key step toward de-dollarization, reclaiming national financial independence. So while a 500 dinar note might look small, it sends a big message. Iraq is getting ready for a more self-sustaining economy. A coordinated national effort. What's happening in Iraq right now isn't random. Observers note that the central bank, the Ministry of Finance, and Iraq's international partners are working together more closely than ever. This level of coordination suggests a long-term plan, a blueprint for rebuilding confidence in the dinar, and ultimately restoring Iraq's full economic sovereignty. The strategy appears to focus on strengthening the dinar from within, expanding domestic circulation, modernizing banks, and increasing public trust. Only then, once that internal foundation is strong, can the dinar gain real credibility internationally. It's a methodical, disciplined approach, and it's starting to pay off. Reversing Iraq's heavy dollarization for decades, Iraq's internal economy depended heavily on the US dollar. Many businesses priced goods in dollars, and savings were often held in dollars too. That made sense after years of sanctions and instability. People lost confidence in the local currency. But today, that's changing. Iraq's leadership has made it clear that one of its top goals is economic self-determination. Recent policy moves suggest that Iraq is actively working to conduct more trade, especially in key industries like energy and agriculture, in Iraqi dinars rather than dollars. This shift may seem technical, but it's actually deeply nationalistic. It's a declaration that Iraq wants to stand on its own 2 feet, to control its own economic destiny, and to rebuild confidence in its financial system from the ground up. A what if Chase Bank really is accepting dinar? So let's come back to the Chase Bank story. What would it actually mean if a major US bank like Chase began accepting or processing Iraqi dinar? In the world of international finance, perception often creates reality. When a major institution like Chase signals confidence in a currency, others take notice. It can spark a domino effect, prompting other global banks to review their policies and reassess their risk models. These kinds of shifts don't happen overnight. They're the result of careful evaluation, behind-the-scenes coordination, and often quiet discussions with regulators. So if Chase has indeed made such a move, it's unlikely to be an accident. It would more likely be the result of deliberate analysis, perhaps even in consultation with Iraqi or US financial authorities. That would send a massive message. The reforms happening in Iraq are credible, sustainable, and finally being taken seriously by some of the most cautious players in global finance. From speculation to credibility for many years, conversations around the dinar happened mostly in private forums or speculative investor groups. Mainstream institutions stayed silent, but this silence may now be breaking. If a respected global bank acknowledges or even processes the dinar, that's a shift from speculation to credibility. It means the dinar is no longer just an online rumor or collector's item. It's becoming part of real financial dialogue. That transition marks the first real step toward broader acceptance. A broader economic transformation, but Iraq's progress goes far beyond currency reform. The country's entire economic model is being reshaped. Historically, Iraq's economy depended almost entirely on oil exports, making it vulnerable to global oil price swings. To fix this, the government, in collaboration with organizations like the IMF and World Bank, is pursuing a diversification strategy. They're improving fiscal discipline, enhancing transparency, and investing in non-oil sectors like agriculture, renewable energy, and information technology. These industries are now attracting both domestic entrepreneurs and foreign investors. At the same time, the central bank is modernizing Iraq's entire financial infrastructure, digitizing payment systems, improving oversight, and tightening control over foreign exchange markets. All of these reforms combine to create the conditions for a stronger, more respected national currency. A lesson from Vietnam to understand Iraq's potential path forward, let's look at a powerful example. Vietnam. Just a few decades ago, the Vietnamese dong was also seen as undervalued, unstable, and largely ignored by global banks. But through years of disciplined monetary reform, trade expansion, and industrial growth, Vietnam transformed itself into one of Asia's most dynamic economies. The dong didn't suddenly skyrocket. It earned credibility through consistent policy and national discipline. That's exactly the path Iraq seems to be following now. The combination of internal reform, anti-corruption efforts, and renewed international engagement could gradually reshape how the dinar is perceived, turning skepticism into respect. What to watch next, so what comes next? There are a few key indicators that observers are watching closely. 1. Official exchange rate changes. If the central bank adjusts Iraq's official rate, it could signal a new phase in monetary reform. 2. New denominations. The release of more lower-value notes would suggest the CBI is preparing for broader domestic currency use. 3. International Forex listings. If the dinar becomes more accessible on global trading platforms, liquidity and transparency will rise. 4. Trade settlements in dinar. The real test will be when Iraq begins conducting significant portions of its international trade, especially oil exports, in IQD. If these developments unfold, it will confirm that Iraq's currency is finally gaining the recognition it deserves. A nation reclaiming its financial identity in many ways, this isn't just a financial story, it's a national one. The journey of the Iraqi dinar mirrors the journey of Iraq itself, a story of resilience, recovery, and rebirth after hardship. Each new reform, each policy change, and each international acknowledgement is another step toward restoring trust, both within the country and beyond. The possibility that a powerhouse like Chase Bank might now be engaging with the dinar serves as a reminder that the world is paying attention. Iraq's persistence is beginning to show results. The dinar's rise from speculation to credibility is not just about numbers. It's about national pride and a people's determination to rebuild their economy on their own terms. And that wraps up today's in-depth analysis. If you found this information valuable, and you want to stay on top of every development coming out of Iraq's central bank and currency markets, make sure to subscribe right now to Iraqi Dinar News Today. Hit the like button to support our work and leave a comment below. What do you think about the Chase Bank reports? Could this be the signal we've all been waiting for? Thanks for watching, and remember, the story of Iraq's economic transformation is still being written. Stay tuned here on Iraqi Dinar News Today, where we'll continue bringing you the most accurate updates, grounded analysis, and real news from inside Iraq's evolving financial landscape. Disclaimer: the information provided on Iraqi Dinar News Today is for educational and informational purposes only. We do not provide financial, investment, or trading advice. All content shared on this channel is based on publicly available data and personal opinions. Viewers are advised to do their own research and consult a licensed financial advisor before making any investment decisions. Iraqi Dinar News Today is not affiliated with any government agency, bank, or financial institution.